Okay, let's share my screen. Okay, so, well, welcome to another sync on Python Stewardship Working Group. Um Tatiana is not here, but I'll voice her points. She made a new MR to be the backbone of code review. This is already merged, and which then can we can use to approach. And she did a really good thing by just improving a little bit on her epic, so that others can join in. So this looks pretty good. Um, so if you don't know what to contribute to on the Python working group, um, looking at the epics that we had, the multiple epics that we have. So it starts on where's the parent epic? Here we have all of the epics that with items to be worked on. I think I have. Mine is not fully populated. No, it is. Okay. So that can help if you don't know really how to. And I see that now moving to Shola's point, I think that's also the approach you took, right?
Yes. So yeah, I created an MR yesterday as well. It's under the same epic as Tatiana's, so like code review and
Mm-hmm.
maintaining guidelines for Python code base. Yeah, maybe we can even just open it and just take a quick look. Um, the
Mm-hmm.
MR itself is to clarify um the responsibilities for maintainers.
Mm-hmm.
um, in Python code bases as well. There's been a few discussions or like feedback, which I haven't addressed yet. I was actually waiting for, yeah, this meeting because, yeah, maybe it might be more efficient. Um, but yeah, it'd be great to discuss in more details what the expected responsibilities actually are and what are not in reality.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I felt I was a little bit limited in clarifying myself because I've never been a maintainer. So I was only
Mm-hmm.
looking from the outside in. But yeah, so it'd be great to have opinions and perspectives in regards to like what makes sense, what doesn't make sense, and so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any specific point you want to discuss on this, MR? Any specific comment?
Yeah, I mean, for example, there was this let me just put it myself. There was a comment on, yeah, so for example here with Vitalis, so like being more specific, so yeah, that one there. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, my understanding of it is obviously at the moment with AI Gateway, we're using like Fast API, we're using PyTest, but I can imagine like different projects might require different libraries.
Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing. So yeah, I'm not sure if like if being specific is something that we can particularly do there. Um, I think you left a comment similar
Yeah.
to that as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What we can say is the maintainer must be familiar with the libraries um, used in the project. Um, One way that we can do this is by having a set of recommended frameworks or libraries. But for now, I think each project is defining their own libraries, right?
Okay.
So I agree with you. Right now, it's difficult. Maybe we can say that strong with common, not with common Python frameworks, but
Hmm.
with the Python frameworks we used in this specific project.
Okay.
That, right? This could be a way
Okay.
because you're right. It's hard to be specific when, for example, do a workflow and a gateway have very different stacks.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so and then the other thing as well is so yeah, like if you look at like the structure of it, so I have it under like three headings, so like technical prerequisites for maintainers, code review objectives, and then additional responsibilities. Um, from both of your perspective, is that clear enough as to or like does it make sense structuring it like that as maintainer responsibilities?
Yeah, so if you look at the, I think it's over here, maintainer guidelines. This is contributor docs, code review guidelines. I think it's somewhere over here. Domain experts, review roulette. Okay, so this is some like backend changes, but uh, so here, this documentation is an example of what would be expected from a review. We can also point the Python guidelines to this one, right? Because this is not everything is applicable. Okay, the responsibility of the merge request author, and below here, responsibility of the reviewer and responsibility of the maintainer.
Right.
Maintainers are of GitLab code base across domains. So we can first of all point to this as the first step, because the the maintainer is responsibility shouldn't change much from the maintainership, from the all the other maintainers. So I think we can link to this page as well. Let me see if there's anything. Let's see if there's anything that is not views. To request from another reviewer, the acceptance criteria are reasonably met. Okay, yeah, so there's also this additional. It's not only verifying if everything is okay, but also that it matches the original goal. Maintain relevant documentation, accuracy, and completeness, monitor and update package dependencies necessary, track and address technical debt, guide architectural decisions, mentor other. I think it's everything here is, in my opinion, part of the expectations of a maintainer. I mean, you don't need to do everything, but those are things that we would expect maintainers doing, right? Like not
Mhm.
every maintainer needs to be a mentor,
Right.
but um, yeah. So it's a different what is expected from maintainers and what is expected from a maintainer, right? Uh, but expected from maintainers, I think this is correct. Like ensure the project is consistent. All of this makes sense. Ensure security standards are maintained. This is a big thing that is going on because the AI gateway doesn't have, we didn't have until recently, for example, the right security protocols. Um, yeah, all of this is, it makes sense to me.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, that's yeah, all I wanted to check in on that.
Hmm. Okay.
I don't Fred,
Think,
did you have maybe any input?
But I haven't looked into your more in detail, but I can do that after this call.
All right, cool. Thanks.
Thank you.
um, the next point I have is I started for Python deployment. I started doing some work on using systemd on AI Gateway. This was a request from distribution because it's harder to deploy if we want to deploy using packages like Omnibus or like an Omnibus light installation for Python services. Using Docker can be annoying and too heavy, so it's better if we use something like systemd. So I started doing some exploration. I don't have anything concrete yet. But it also doesn't seem too complicated. I just need to figure out like the packaging, and this is famous last words for Python. Figuring out packaging is a little bit of a meme, but using systemd seems very straightforward to start and stop services. So it runs at a Linux level, not at a Docker level anymore. So I don't know. I'm looking into it right now. This would help a lot with, I'm looking within AI Gateway, but I think we can make this reusable but by new Python services that might come in. Um, yeah, so this is what I had. Any comments?
No, it sounds good. I'd have a related question. Have we discussed about Python packages being hosted on PyPy?
Mm, yes, we have, I think, let me go to the epic. I brought a discussion because we have a GitLab user on PyPy.
Yeah.
And I was trying to figure out who was the owner of that. And apparently analytics is the owner of that. Did I had over here guidelines on deploying Python libraries? But I think we can go back a little bit. Immerse. Okay, yeah, I need to find the Slack. I'll add over here the Slack thread. Um, we have a GitLab user,
Yep.
and it's just a matter of making the key or the organization more accessible, and then we can deploy to use uh, the PyPy thing.
Okay, cool. Because for MLOps, we have published that package on PyPy, but I don't think it's in the GitLab organization. There were some things that were limiting us from that. So I just wanted to figure out if we have any general guidelines on that.
Yeah, no, for now we don't have access to that, but I'll loop you and Andres on the thread that I started over this. Um, yeah, we just
Okay.
have GitLab data, I think, on that repository, on
Yeah.
that user GitLab, and I don't know, I don't think there's a problem with using for other stuff. I think it should be okay. It's just a matter of like, okay, is it a shared key or is it an organization set up where multiple people, like you can have multiple accounts under an organization like in Docker, right?
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. I will let me add a to-do for me, Eduardo. I will tag you on the Slack discussion. Uh, dun, 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 dun. Okay. Um, the other 2 points then is not here, and Mo is not here as well. So let's keep this for now. Um, let's move. Any other discussion these 2 points that we had? Is it okay? Now, a discussion that showed up is the interviewing pool. So I don't think it's part of this. Like this, the scope of this working group is already too large. But Basti raised that they are starting to hire for dual workflow, not machine learning engineers, but Python developers, which is a really good thing. Like most of our hiring has been over machine learning engineers, and we do need Python developers but we don't have a hiring process for this. Like we don't have a technical challenge or a technical interview challenge or anything on those lines. And yeah, this is part of making this a first class language at GitLab. And I see, and Fred was on the thread as well. Do you want to talk about it, Fred?
Yeah, I just happened to see the notification from Slack, and I was like, yeah, this reminds me of the interviews that Eduardo and I have been doing, and a few other people have been involved at that as well. And there was somewhat of a quest to make it better, and I don't think
Mm-hmm.
we've had a lot of effort into that yet. And it's like, okay, let's get this rolling because soon we will be hiring ML engineers, and we'll be thinking, oh yeah, we need something better than we currently have. And one of the things I remember discussing back then was that we probably also would want a more Python oriented
Mm-hmm.
interview. And I figured, well, this would be ideal because this would be just a backend interview for Python specifically. So I volunteered to pick that up. The discussion was in the Python working group channel on Slack, but I don't think it necessarily has to be part of this working group, but we should just be aware that this is happening. Um, I probably have the interview, the first iteration finished this morning. Then I'll also post it in the Python working group for feedback.
Mm-hmm.
So that's in regards to the technical interview. In regards to the interviewing pool, I think since we have a lot of people that do know Python, we can just ask it in the working group here as well. Um, if people want to volunteer for interviewer, um, it will be different than the ML interview because it focuses more on backend, so API development, that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's basically the Ruby interview, but in Python, right? Like a version of the Ruby interview in Python. Not exactly the
Yeah,
same problem, but
yeah, it's essentially the same. It's an API that has some mocks in it to interact with an LLM, and it's mostly about there's a lot of hidden things in there or things that are wrong. And what I
mm-hmm.
tried to do was to make them very hard to detect by an AI, because I assume that most of these interviews people will just dump it into an LLM and figure out what the problems are. So
Mm-hmm.
we have to have follow-up questions for any of those points that we can actually test if the candidate
Mm-hmm.
understands the problem or is just repeating from LLM. So in order also to combat that, I've added a few of these um, hidden bugs where the LLM will think, yeah, this code looks logical, but in the context of Fast API, for example, it's actually a bug or unintended behavior.
Mm-hmm. That sounds good.
And the interesting part is that I tested it with a few LMs, and they are indeed not able to spot it. Even when you start to direct them to the actual problem, they are unable to find the actual issue.
Cool. So no, that's great to see the that we'll have that as well. Um, oh yeah, so share it with on the group, and then we will. I think the pool of interviewers for Python is much larger than the pool of interviewers for ML, so that will help because we had a problem that we had very few interviewers for ML, for machine learning. But Python, I think we have people that know Python, they're just not part of any Python team, but they still would like to help interviewing those areas.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Cool. Anything else we want to discuss? Cool. So we'll have another sync by the end of the afternoon. Well, later today or tomorrow, depending on the time zone. It's confusing. But yeah, thank you for joining today. And it's good to see the progress being made on all of the different exit criterias. Thank you, Shola, for the MR. Thank you, Fred, for taking ownership of the interviewing thing. and I'll share with you the thread so that we can move the PyPy forward. Cool.
Thank you so
Sounds
much
good.
for organizing.
Yeah, man. Thanks, Eduardo.
Have a good one.
All right, take it easy. Bye.